Hey everybody, welcome back to Couch for It, episode 5. We've been doing this for a whole month, Valanda. Oh,
That's kind of scary.
I know, right? But we're going to keep doing it for like a million months. Ad infinitum, we're never leaving. You're always going to see our faces here. You
One
know,
day we'll get a better couch.
one day, I mean, I don't know. This couch spans an entire ocean.
That is
You
true.
can't
That
beat
is
that.
true. You're going to expect some sort of rock coming in with all the sea. Never mind. Carry on.
Well, as always, I am Drew Tillman because I am streaming and that is who I am right now. Probably won't be that afterwards. And I'm always joined here by.
I'm Valanda. Hello.
And we're going to discuss Lost in Space. It's everyone's favorite, currently burning dumpster fire of a show. So I hope you're all ready for episode 5. Because,
From
there
that
are
description,
things.
it sounds like I think we had very similar opinions. I think I did the initial first impressions last week because you were faffing with technology because it was destroying us.
It was.
I'm going to
I
let
was
you
trying to
do
find
first.
my notes.
I'm gonna let you do first. I don't have notes. I couldn't even bring myself to do that.
Oh.
So I'm gonna let you do first impressions this week. What
Okay.
did you think, Drew?
First impressions of this episode. It was better, but at the same time, oh my god, stop. This was almost a vacation episode again. Almost.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, do we need another one? We just had one. Do we need another one? Like,
This episode.
what are your first impressions of this episode before I just start ripping it to pieces?
Well, I'm gonna start by ripping it to pieces.
Good,
I
go
hit
for it.
30. I hit just under 30 minutes through. Hit pause, and I took me a solid 15 minutes to hit play again. For those of you who
all
can't
right.
see, Drew just spat his drink out.
I did. It was
I
almost
I
messed up my technology.
it just got to the point where it just began to grate. I don't know what it is about it. It may have been because, I mean, to be fair, there was plot in this one.
There
There,
was.
there was some sort of plot, and it was kind of interesting. I just got really bored. And also I was a little bit distracted today, so that may have been part of the reason. But it was genuinely like halfway through and I hit pause and I'm like, oh my god, I need to hit play again. At this point I would have no.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say that I waited, I'm going to be honest to everybody here. I waited until today to watch this episode.
Same.
Because after last week's, I wasn't sure I could stomach it. Because last week's was so awful and so boring.
God,
And
yeah.
before I go in and start to tear apart very specific items about this episode, I just want to say I'm kind of concerned about the writers of this. Is this their first show? Do they not know how pacing or structure works? Because we just literally had 2 hours of a 10-hour show that was more or less
Filler.
sitting around. Yeah, like there's
It
only 10
feels like filler.
episodes. Yeah, what the fuck are you doing?
It's not like they're being forced to do like the 24 episodes where like they have to produce something every week for 6 months because that's what the network demands.
Exactly.
It's 10 episodes. There's no excuse for filler, especially on things like Netflix. It's just no point.
Now, that's not
I
saying...
get a slow down episode, like because pacing, you can't be high wire all the time because you'll just burn out. But they haven't even got to the point where I can go, oh, I feel like I've gone for a slight jog. No, there's
Right. Oh
nothing.
my god. And not to mention, you can do pacing correctly. Like there are shows that have done it. One of my favorite ones is The Last Airbender, where they watch the play about themselves in the 3rd season. I can see
Wait.
that you.
Hang on. Are we talking about the series?
Yes, we're talking about the series, not
Okay,
the movie.
I'm only on episode 6 because people yelled at me to watch it, and
Okay.
I am making my way. So no
Good,
spoilers.
watch it. I will not spoil it. I mean, that's the only spoiler. They watch a play about themselves in the 3rd season. It is a fantastic filler episode. It's filler done correctly. It's not only as filler, it's like a baller, like a recap episode as filler.
Yeah.
And it's amazingly done. And when you get there, you're gonna want to tell everybody about it, despite the fact that we've all seen it.
I'm slowly catching up. Okay, one thing at a time. All right, let's start ripping this episode
let's-
apart
let's do
because
some
I
spoilers.
I need to. I have to get this off my
Okay,
chest.
go.
Like you,
I will let you go
left
first.
it. I left it until almost the last bottle minute. I left it till I got up this morning because I thought, well, maybe I'll watching it in a bit of a haze. No, that was a bad idea. So the episode opens up on, I want to say Dr. Smith.
It does indeed.
I think she's looking bored or menacing. Oh, I know. I remember what it is now.
Okay.
So, I'm so sorry. Dr. Smith is walking through the woods. I think this is where we left her in the episode before when she was talking to Spencer and being, weird. So she's walking through the woods and it's night and it's dark and she has like a light or something. And then something kind of cool happens. I have to say, this is kind of cool. There's like a weird, like, moth creature, a native moth creature. So it's not as we know them. And it seems to be attracted to the light. And she does this thing where she moves on a bit and then she puts the light down and has a closer look at it. And she looks like she's doing that child thing of reaching out to the moth. She's human on her own. She doesn't have to pretend to be someone or manipulate anything, which is kind of cool. And she's reaching up for this moth. And then this just like weird tongue thing comes out and grabs the thing. And we just hear like, nom, 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 nom. And we see her lay down flat on the ground like, oh, holy shit. It's like, I like it. I like it. And I immediately thought, that's a plot device for later on.
Oh, yeah, same thing. I do want to say that I get that Dr. Smith had this moment of she didn't have to pretend to be anybody else. But her reaction to a moth was just astounding.
Yeah.
She looked at that thing as if she had never seen an animal in her whole life. She's like, what the fuck is that? Oh my, it can fly? What is that? It was...
To be honest, I think I'd have had a similar reaction if, like, I went onto this rando alien planet, right? We've seen some cool things going down, and we just see a moth. It's so much like home, and yet it was so different.
Fair.
Like, I can understand why she thought that was kind of cool.
I will also say, I don't think the only animal she had seen before this, I'm pretty sure, had been the Butt-eels. Because she never saw the dinosaur creature that followed them until this episode. And she never saw the creatures on the lake or anything like that. So the only thing
she did see like the purple flying things.
She did.
The only redeeming thing of the previous episode.
That's right. She did see that. I wanted to block that whole episode out, but clearly.
I'm sorry. I brought it crashing back to you. Unfortunately, like a scar in my mind that's still bleeding.
It's bad.
Yes. But yeah, she sees this. So is that creature that like did the eating you thing? Is that supposed to be the creature that was following them last week? Because if it was, I completely missed that. I am a dumbass, but did I completely miss that? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the same creature.
Oh, okay, cool. Interesting. Sweet, I've learned something. So this happens, and then I think the creature goes off, and we go to the intro titles, which I actually paid attention to this week, because it was the short one.
Yeah, we just got another title card this week.
Yeah, which was just Lost in Space. I hope this is what they keep it as, because that's what I expect from Netflix shows. It's like, we don't need to fuck about with a big bunch of intros.
That long intro they showed was just... It didn't catch me. You know, like, an intro, I'm not saying it has to, but it kind of feels like it should get you, like, into the mood, like, pumped for the show. Like, there are a lot of really good intros that have stuck with people forever. That one wasn't one of them.
No, I mean, I rarely ever listen to intros or like recaps or anything because most of them are dull. There's only one that I will always watch, which is High School of the Dead, because that freaking soundtrack, man.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh wow, boy! Oh boy, it's literally only like 14 episodes or something dumb, so we'll need to watch that.
Okay,
it's
we can definitely cover High School of the Dead. I'll watch it.
It will be on there. Anyway, so we had like the short intro, which is like, this is good. This is what come to expect. We can get straight back in the action. And then I think we go straight to
jump.
Mom. Oh, we jump back.
We jump to the mom in the Jupiter because she's doing science.
Oh yeah.
I guess technically she's doing astrology or
geology.
No, hold on, not astrology because that's a different thing.
Astronomy.
There we go. That one. Ha ha.
She's doing something sciencey, and they don't.
Yes.
It's like, okay, this is a sci-fi show. Some sort of explanation, anything. We don't really get anything at all. No. We have a few throwaway words, and this is like, okay. So for a sci-fi show, it really doesn't do a lot of sci-fi. There's not a lot of science in this. It's just fiction. So let's just call this fiction. We've done the wrong show. This is just fiction. Adding the words in space does not make it science fiction. It's just fiction here.
It's just it's rough fiction is what it is.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, she's doing sciencey stuff, and we see her looking out of a window. This is like back on Earth, I believe. So she's looking at the window, she's writing stuff, and she seems to be like in the zone.
Oh no, this is on Earth. This is in the Jupiter.
No. The flashback. The flashback, she's on Earth.
She is on Earth in one of them, but the one she's looking out the window, I'm pretty sure
she's on Earth.
Is she on Earth? I swear she was on the Jupiter in that one.
No, she's on Earth. Because they don't have windows on the Jupiter.
Not that we've seen, but they did do that whole expansion last
Oh,
episode.
maybe the expansion gave the double
Gave
glazing.
them some windows. We don't know. We don't know
Uh,
what the fuck it did.
I don't believe that the Jupiter suddenly developed windows.
Okay,
I'm
you know,
pretty
fine.
sure.
I'll give you that one. That's fine. I will totally accept that it's
Yeah.
on Earth because the only window I've seen in the Jupiter has been the cockpit.
And it also has that kind of weird lighting effect that they have when they're on Earth.
That's true, it kinda
which is actually kind of vaguely a kind of throwaway sentence explained of like much later on, unless anyway, I was on a whole thing about sci-fi. There are plenty of opportunities in this for them to go through, oh, it's this, and we can tell you about how this part of the science works, and we can tell you about this part. It does nothing. The only thing that ever is given its reference in here, I think, is one singular mention this entire episode to Hawking radiation. And that is the most like, ooh, sci-fi thing that's in here, and it doesn't even explain it. It doesn't do anything. It just is like, here's a line, and then you see her go, oh, because it's net. For whatever reason, they decide they don't want to swear in this. It's like, why? If anything
You
deserves the
definitely
ability
can't
to swear, it's this.
That's inappropriate, and we don't like it on Netflix.
Oh, sure.
Also, you're
of course.
forgetting this is family sci-fi.
I would not show my child this. There are far better. For me, sci-fi should definitely make someone be interested in science or be interested in basically whatever the field it is based around. In this case, it would be astronomy or astrology or geology or something like that, or engineering or medicine or something that makes someone go, ooh, this is a STEM project. This is cool. I feel enthused because this was awesome. This made me interested. I wouldn't do this to them. I wouldn't do this to my child. I'd be like, this is how not to write. This is 101 of not writing, of avoiding the subject. And it's just like, why do this to us? This is one chance to show sci-fi, and they didn't. They missed the opportunity, and it bugs the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm out. Good night. especially because they have female scientists, and there are very few of us inclined like that. So
yeah,
they wasted an opportunity, and it bugs me.
So this I agree. I wouldn't show this to my children at all. Like no.
Anyway.
So after we see her doing science of some sort, we go outside of the Resolute, where we find out that the sun is going too fast. It's rising earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
And then we find out the new plan, because since the Resolute doesn't have any radar dishes, because apparently it only had the one, their new plan is to build a tower that beams light into space so that they can see it. Because I guess that's the best option they could find.
Yeah.
Not to say it's not a good option.
To be honest, if they've got no way of, like, I think they basically say that they're deaf or something, so they can't hear them. The only way that they could then be picked up is if they did something massive, like a giant light beam.
No, granted, that's what I'm saying. It's not a terrible idea, but it's one of those things that I'm like, so I'm supposed to believe this big, massive spaceship has one antenna. And also, your plan relies entirely on the fact that you're going to beam a big light source into space and hope to God somebody's looking out a window at the right moment. Because they're like, well, it has to be overhead, otherwise they won't see it. I'm like, okay, they might be all in the fucking bathroom. You guys don't know. This may not work. I feel it's very much like their last ditch effort. And if it was me doing that, I think the point was they're supposed to keep it on for as long as possible, or when it is that they're flying over is when they're supposed to have it on. But obviously they can only do it when they're on the dark side of the planet, because the light won't be obvious if they're during the day. Like the ship flying overhead just will not see it, so they have to wait for a certain right time to turn the light on so they don't F all their batteries up. Which makes sense. I want to know has the Resolute not figured out they don't have a receiver yet? Like
you would have think that they would have picked that up, right?
You would have think that, like, they're like, okay, we're stable enough, let's start broadcasting. Hey, go check to make sure all the comms are working.
That'd be like, one person go do a spacewalk, just one.
Just go outside. Oh no, we've lost our one antenna. I told them we needed another one.
It's like, you would have thought they'd have like damage assessment crews, like, oh yeah, this is what is broken on our ship. We don't have a dish. No packed enough crockery. Sorry.
Yeah, we're fucked. Sorry, everyone.
All right, so we go back to the Jupiter, and the mum is packing some gear, and you see that she's doing some like high altitude stuff, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And she packs it on a little trolley, and she wanders off outside.
Her scene is really neat.
It's weird.
Like her little like, storyline is weird, but like it gives a lot of really cool visuals.
Yeah, it looks pretty.
It's about as
So
good as we're gonna get.
well framed. Let's go with that.
Yeah, yeah,
The
we'll-
photography was spot on for hers. So she goes outside, and we see that, as was hinted at the end of the last episode, all the survivors, I think all the survivors are here, but like maybe one or two, I think that's the idea. So we have the Watanabe's.
Yep.
Nailed it. And we have the random group of cannibals that we saw in the previous episode come through, and we have the dude in charge that nobody
Victor.
voted for, and his kid.
Yeah. I like
and
how
then-
his name is Victor and his son is VJ.
VJ. Yep.
So I like how they both have V names.
To keep, because writing 101 is don't have principal characters with the same first letters because it gets easily confused.
It does.
Anyway, so we see the mom and we see the dad, Maureen and John, have not quite a pissing match. It's
Not quite, yeah.
it's not quite. They don't really have an out-and-out argument, but they also don't really bond very well in this episode. Like the odd, we're kind of not chemistry there. It's like I picked that up really easily. It was awkward and it was perfect for that scene. And she says, "I need to go do a thing," and he's like, "Don't do that on your own, you idiot." And she's like, "Well, I kind of need to. You need to stay here with the kids because you missed out on them growing up because you went away." And he was like, "Touche, woman."
That is my favorite argument. It's like, hey, you want to spend more time with the kids, so do that.
Yeah,
Like,
and he was like, "You know, I'm not going to argue." And then Victor basically has a go at her for taking the chariot because she's going off in a chariot to go do a thing on her own.
Which she ignores and
And-
just leaves anyway. Which
Yeah,
I love.
and I think they have that kind of like bonding over a mutual enemy thing going on. So he's like,
Yeah.
"I've got this. You go. I've got this covered."
Well, because neither of them voted for him.
Exactly, none of them vote for them. So I'm guessing we're going to figure out that he rigged the election or some jizz like that.
Something. I also want to know who did they vote for? Where's that
Yeah.
person?
Where's dude number 2?
Because I will say that Victor, kind of an asshole.
Yeah,
Like, and
dude,
not even
dude-
in the, not even the, hey, we need to survive. Everyone needs to band together. It's more the, hey, you guys said I was in charge. Why aren't you listening to me?
Yeah, he has the entitlement. I have the biggest EP in here, so pay attention to me because I'm the best. And everyone else is like, "No, you're not."
Yeah, it's kind of a mess.
Yeah, so the whole kind of like shindig that's going on around here is that they are trying to set up this light tower. And there's a pissing match over where things should be placed and who should be doing what and when this should be happening. And that's kind of the gist of what's going on out here.
Yep,
Oh yeah,
it's real. It's real good.
real good stuff.
And then after that scene is one of my favorite scenes because Dr. Smith is digging around or doing something, and Don West walks up, and he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, you stole my fucking flare gun." And her excuses, again, her excuses are not good excuses, and I want to know why no one's be like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, her excuses, well, she took the flare gun because she was scared, and then she put it back in the wrong bag. And I'm like, okay, it's been a few days. Don West was with the Watanabe's. I'm sure he's looked in all of his bags. He never found a flare gun. He should remember that he specifically never found a flare gun. Because let me tell you, if I was in a bad situation and I went to go look for a flare gun, and then I couldn't find the flare gun, and then later I found the flare gun, I would remember that event. I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
the
but
flare
like-
gun was in a different place.
Oh God,
Right.
would you look at that?
That
No,
means
this.
said person didn't try to fucking murder me.
Yeah, he'd remember that crap. So yeah, I believe she was working with the boy Will, because she knows that the robot is missing, or inverted
Yeah.
commas missing, and she's trying to get him to bring the robot back because obviously she's seen this weird creature doing an attacky thing, and she obviously has further manipulations for said robot later on down the line.
She
So
wants
we'll get to that in a minute.
Control the whole world with a
Of
robot.
course. Yeah, because smirt.
So
So
there's like
Dom's-
8 people. You're not really gonna like, have a good feeling of world domination.
No, not at all. But you get power where you can. So Don rocks up and they have this awkward. She says some BS and he goes for it. Awkward, just like because plot. I felt very much that like
That's my big thing about this whole show is so much of this show feels like the answer in the writers' room was, well, because of the plot.
it's like yeah. I mean, I obviously justifies like oh yeah, she came up with an excuse. So yeah, he'll go with that. It's like would he really?
Yeah,
Because I
he's-
don't know. It was so light. It was so thin.
He's a
Like,
straight-up
I would be
survivor, and
angry.
he's got 0 survival
Yeah.
instinct. Like He's just like, okay, yeah, she said no, and why would I not believe her?
It's like she said she was scared, and then I didn't tell them about you because yeah, it was just so poor. And this actually follows up something a bit later on because Don not Don Penny
Judy, the doctor
Judy is
girl. That's
the doctor
Judy.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Judy. Dr. Judy is down there in the cargo, and she's doing some stuff, and she finds the whiskey, and she hears something move, and she waits and then elbows Don in the face because he basically is kind of partially sneaky up on it. She breaks his nose, and I was like,
One of the
I
best
love
scenes.
this girl.
Right.
I love this girl.
Honestly, Judy's one of my she's probably my favorite character. Like if I was gonna rate
Absolutely.
the family, it'd be Judy and then Penny because I don't give a fuck about Will. The parents are just irritating.
Yeah, like Judy and Penny, like in this episode, you see more that they're sisters. Like there's just like offhanded comments, the way they look and talk to each other, the way that they are looking out for each other, and that they complement one another.
Oh yeah.
Penny has gone from someone I don't give any f's about at all to someone I actually think, yeah, she's a go-getter. She's the doer of the family.
Yep.
There's shit needs to be done. I'm going to go do it because it actually needs to be done. And you need people like that in your life. You don't necessarily have to be the best at this or the best at that. Sometimes you just need someone who's ready to pick up a tool and get on with the job. And I feel that that's Penny. And her and Judy work really well together. And you can tell that they're sisters, that you can tell that they are bonded like that. And it's 100%. Really cool. So anyway, Judy and Don then go into the doctor's office where they do this very quite cleverly, actually. Judy, Don asked where she gets the survival skills from, of like her reaction of basically breaking his nose, and she says, "My dad," and I think she then tells him that it's John, and Don has this question mark on his face of like, "But I don't how genetics
but he's
how
ginger." Like it's just the moment of that doesn't make sense.
That's not, and she's like, my dad wasn't in the picture.
Yeah.
The other guy wasn't in the picture.
I liked that one a lot. And I like the follow-up of that because they're talking and Don finds out that this is a little out of order, but Don finds out that Dr. Smith was rescued by the Robinsons and she said that she was alone. And he's like, huh, that's weird. Because
and never brings it up with her.
Nope, apparently just walks away. But Judy does, which we will get to that because I want to jump away from Judy here and go back to the mom who's doing probably one of the most interesting things in this episode. She's out in the middle of this field of purple flowers. She's setting up a weather balloon. And that's at least what I thought it was at first. And then
I thought that was that too, yeah.
But my favorite thing is she's got it tied down. The wind picks up. The wind pulls the weather balloon, which yanks the stake out, which, because plot, stabs through the brace on her leg and starts yanking her towards this cliff. And it's a really cool scene because it's just her being dragged through these like purple flowers, like trying to get herself free. And I mean, obviously, I don't know if she can see the cliff or not, but I assume she would know it's there. But so she finally gets herself free, and then while she's laying there recovering from her almost dead experience, it cuts back to Earth where she's talking to her kids about wanting to go to Alpha Centauri. And she's like, oh, it's a paradise planet. Let's do pros and cons. Actually, Judy says let's do pros and cons, which that's my favorite nerd thing. Let's do pros and cons. But she's like, oh, it's a paradise planet. There's no war. And I'm like, you get enough people on that planet, I guarantee there will be a fucking war.
Oh my god, yeah. She's like, there's no unrest. There's no unrest. There's no war. It's a paradise planet. Everything is stable. You can do and build whatever you want to do and be whatever you want to be. It's like, okay. If you get two people in the room, there will be conflicts, like over something. Like it doesn't matter if they are the best friends. It doesn't matter if they agree on pretty much everything. There will always be conflict if there's more than one person in a room.
Yep.
And you scale that up onto a planet where everyone gets to do whatever they want all the time. It's not gonna be great.
And not to mention, even if they go over there and they set up a really good system of government, they do all this stuff, inevitably governments falter because people get greedy.
Yeah.
So sure, maybe right now it's a great paradise, but that planet's just fucked as every other one.
Yeah. And this is actually where we learned that the planet they are currently on, Earth, has some sort of bizarre pollution thing going on in their atmosphere, and they will never see a blue sky again.
And the life is going to start dying.
Yeah.
They haven't explained it yet. It's something to do with the first episode where you find out there's a big asteroid coming towards Earth and all this nonsense.
Wait, we do.
Yeah, that was in like one of the first flashbacks. There was a news report about how there was a asteroid headed towards Earth.
Cool.
That's literally in like the second episode, Molly. Like
It is?
It is. It's in the first flashback where it's about Christmas. How did you miss this?
I think I was distracted by the flaming trash fire.
Okay,
The
but
series currently is.
this is episodes before the trash fire. This is like first flashback where it's like where the dad shows up. Remember that Christmas where the dad shows up and he's like outside in front of the hedge and they're like, "Oh, you're actually here! Yay!"
I totally missed that.
That series of flashbacks, you find out there's an asteroid headed towards Earth, and then that's why they can't. That's why they can't live.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool. So Earth is a bit more fucked than I originally thought it was. Okay. Cool. I can live with that. Carry on.
Okay.
I missed the giant meteor coming towards Earth.
There was it did that whole movie thing of like zooming into the TV and be like, look at this person talk.
Look at this plot device.
Oh,
wow. I feel terrible.
So yeah, they talk about how it's a paradise planet and it's so amazing and all this other stuff. And they do a pros and cons list, which I do like because it's so nerdy.
Yeah, yes, it is. Absolutely is.
And then that's where you find out that like everyone has to pass multiple tests to get on the Resolute and to go into Alpha Centauri or go to Alpha Centauri, just to get on the spaceship, basically.
Yeah.
That's where you already knew it because they mentioned it in the first flashback episodes, but they actually start talking about it and how like, oh yeah, you just have to pass all of these tests and it's fine.
Yeah.
No big deal. Just pass some tests.
It's no biggie. Yeah, so we see them flash back to this and they do the list, and I think it comes down to want there to be a future for the Robinsons.
Which
and
I think the only pro that's given really is by Will, and his pro is blue skies.
Yeah. I think they probably spiraled from there.
I do hope. A little bit.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I like a blue sky and all that, but it's not really enough.
I'll be honest, I spend most of my time in this room. Blue skies, I rarely ever see.
Exactly. So you'll never see a blue sky again. Like, I'm inside 98% of the time. What the fuck?
I'm a nerd. I have a nerd glow. I don't look like I have a nerdish white glow right now because I'm under warm lighting. But I am totally as pale as they come. It's terrible.
And then I don't want to say exactly what happens with the mom yet, so we can jump back to the Jupiter if you want to talk about the cut back there.
Yep. So we cut back and we see Dr. Smith. I want to call her Dr. X. I really don't know why. We see Dr. Smith like, oh, I'm going to be an asshole. We see her go to the fence and we see her.
That's not yet.
Is it not?
No,
totally
right when it cuts
is this
back,
Will?
Yeah, it's Will and the dad having a nice little moment.
Yeah, so we cut back to Will partway through this episode. I think before this point, the girls go, you need to talk to Dad about what's happening with the robot and the fact that the robot may be evil. Because there's a bunch of people around and you said you would, so you need to do it. And there's never going to be a good time because Dad is always in a bad mood. Just, I can tell him, sack up and do it. So Will doesn't sack up and do it, let's be honest. And he and his dad have a moment when Will is trying to plug some lights into the light tower. I think his dad tells me he should do it in parallel rather than series. I'm like, basic electrical knowledge. I like it. Thank you. It's the smallest amount of science we've had so far. I'll take it.
Yep.
So they have this moment where the dad says, do you know where the robot's gone? Are you okay? The robot has disappeared and I don't want you to feel like it's abandoned you. I'm not abandoning you. I'm always going to be here now.
It was a nice little moment. And they talk about Christmas lights.
They do, yes, which is where the parallel thing came in, I think.
Yeah. And then it's the mom. That's where the mom goes and does her other thing.
And we'll talk about that in a minute.
What else do we want to talk about at the Jupiter?
So the Jupiter there is Dr. Smith being a tool and turning off the perimeter fence.
And Judy confronts her, which is...
Yes.
I love that one, because Judy confronts her and is like, hey, Don said you lied to him. And she's like, no, he's a bad person. He's
not who he says he is. And like overly dramatic. Why didn't you tell me? I was trying to protect you and your family. And I was like,
the person I had met literally 1 second ago.
Yeah.
Also, not a good protection. Protection would be like, hey, there's a guy out here who definitely tried to murder me. Don't go pick him up. He will try to murder you.
Yeah, I mean that would be in far better protection, like specifying what his deal is.
Yeah.
But she did none of that, and I don't know if Judy brought it. I have a feeling she didn't. But Judy just walks away.
Yeah, she's like, I gotta go outside. Bye.
Yeah, she just walks away, and that's I believe might be the last we
Because-
see of Judy for this episode.
I think we see flashes of her
Uh-huh.
when it goes night
At the
and
end.
the bad stuff
At
happens.
the very end, yeah. That's basically, I think, all that Judy has interaction in this story.
Because then we see them turn the light tower on, which is, it looks really cool. Like the lights, it's dark, they turn this tower on, and it's really bright. It's kind of like a weird lightsaber, honestly.
Oh, yeah, you see like all the dust motes and stuff going through. Obviously, a way to just show that there is light there because you
And
wouldn't
you see
always
a
necessarily see it.
bunch of those little bugs from the beginning.
And you're like, oh, that's the plot
There's the
device from
bugs,
earlier.
yeah.
And pairing that with the fact that Dr. X Smith has turned off the perimeter fence, so whatever creatures want to come through will come through.
I
Because
also have a note about that.
about the perimeter fence.
About the perimeter fence, because nobody gets even a text message if the fence goes, like, it gets shut off. Like, I can't talk, my brain is broken. She turns it off, and everyone who's carrying one of these little mobile communicators that apparently links to everything they do and controls everything, nobody gets a signal. It's like, hey, why'd the fence go down?
Yeah, anyone know when the fence go off?
did
For
this?
me, I don't know what this fence is because at the moment it just seems like a go no go light. So it's either green or red.
It's literally just a motion sensor. So it doesn't
Okay.
actually help. It doesn't stop anything. It's literally just, you cross it and it goes ding, 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 ding.
Oh, okay. It's
And
just
then
not even
you
an
know
effective
to-
cat scare.
Yeah, it's her turning it off didn't matter. It didn't keep the monsters, the animals away. It didn't do
Yeah.
anything. All it would do is let them know, hey, there's a thing coming. You should probably.
But if it can't even text them that it's been turned off,
it's not helpful. So what the
Exactly.
fuck is it?
and I think the fence has done dick all so far. It has literally done nothing
It has
so
only
far.
done one thing at one point, and that was in the last episode when Will crossed it. One of them in the ship went, "Oh no, that was the perimeter fence," and then they ran outside, and that was it. That was the entirety of it
That was the whole thing. Yeah.
being addressed.
All right. So what else do we have before we get onto the night phase? Because I feel like we have a day phase and night phase. So we had Penny and the
oh
the boy.
yeah. Oh my god.
We have the awkward, not quite flirting again, which you would expect from teenagers. Of like, I don't really know how to do this, so let's kind of just like dance around the issue a little bit. I think it's blatantly obvious that she is into him. I don't think he cares.
Yeah, I don't think he seems too interested in her, and it might be because of the fact that she's blackmailing him.
Yeah, that puts a dampener on the mood.
A little bit, kind of. I mean, some people are into some weird stuff. Not judging anybody, but he doesn't seem to be into it.
He seems not to be okay with this.
It's not his thing.
Yeah, because she thanks him for keeping a secret. And it's like, you're blackmailing me. This isn't keeping a secret.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? So they have a little awkward interaction where we see his dad being a tool to his son. Like, you put these in the wrong place. Move them now. Use your head. And then she tries to help him. They have a bit more of a spat, and she's like, well, I'm leaving you now, and then walks off. It's an awkward teenage flirting. It's awkward.
Ugh.
Unless you're currently a teenager going through it, or a child probably too young to be listening to this podcast. We've all been there. I don't need to watch this again.
Exactly. Like, we've all awkwardly flirted with people and then looked back on it and went, that's not how that's done. Why did I say that?
It's like, that was dumb.
But don't make me watch it. Don't do that.
This is not a teen drama. Well, it's a family thing, so I guess I need to apply to everyone. This is the romance in here that I don't think we could get anywhere else, really.
Yeah, I guess. Because
Although, on a side note, I am personally shipping Don and Judy because their little chemistry moment in there was just beautiful.
honestly, I could see them getting together, and they had this weird little cute flirty, like adult flirty thing of just being like, brr, big baby, brr.
Yeah. They have the
I couldn't
not
remember
awkward
anything else they
flirting.
said other than she called him a big baby at one point. That was the only thing I remember. Because he was being a big baby. She's like, oh, let me fix your nose because I broke it. And he's like, no, it hurts.
Yeah, they have an interesting little chemistry. That's what I would ship personally. I'm okay with that. I would be good. I'd be happy to see that evolve because I kind of love Don. Don is just dumb and stupid, and I love him.
Yeah, pretty much.
But this awkward flirting between the teenagers, like, ooh, that's cringy. I understand why it's here. and it should be cringy. They are teenagers flirting. They shouldn't be good at this. This is the whole. This you grow up learning how to do this stuff, and at the age of almost 30, I can't do this still. So it doesn't really. I don't need to see this though.
But it was just it was so awkward.
Yeah, it was awkward. It was perfect for the moment.
It was.
And
she
what else
helps
was
him
there?
for a little bit and then leaves because he says some very rude shit.
Yeah, I think that was basically anything of real note. Everything else just like went under my radar. I was
Pretty
like,
much, because then we get to the night scene where they turn the tower on, and while the tower's up, we cut back to the mom because she's made a high altitude balloon for her to get on and float up so she can look at the sun.
yeah, so she can get a better side-on view of the sun,
which is
of the star.
It is a very neat shot because she goes way up and you can see the big light tower in the distance, which means it's definitely seen from space, which is awesome.
I liked how that was subtly put to one side of the frame as well. Yeah. I have to honestly say this was probably the nicestly framed shot. Like the director of photography, which may not have been, it was probably just all CG. I don't really know. It was freaking awesome. It was the one shot in here I think they absolutely killed. Just seeing her go up on this like mechanism, like basically being strapped into this thing, wearing her spacesuit because obviously it would be sealed, going up in a high altitude balloon above her, and her seeing the sun. And this was the coolest thing. Basically, she gets a close up on the sun, and we see that there's a load of, I think, flary activity coming off of the edge of it.
Yep. And
this is where we get the singular sci-fi phrase of "there's Hawking radiation detected."
Oh my god, that one. Which my note was, what was it? Oh, there was something else that we'll jump back to in a second that I thought was really cool. She's going back up. She goes up there, and they queue up their new death clock, because you have to have a death clock.
Oh, yeah.
And the death clock felt that. There's a black hole behind the fucking sun, everyone. So fucking hang on.
Yep. So, yeah, I like that moment where, like, where did everyone pull the small clocks? Because in the last episode, there was no doom counter. Like, where's our clocks gone? Where's the alarm clock's gone? And that's when you realize that someone's just been cranking up the grandfather clock over the last, like, however many episodes. And you see it something like ding midnight. You were like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, great. So they have to contend with a black hole behind the sun, which, I mean, in reality, all it's going to do is eat the sun, which sucks if you're on the planet, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And then the planet will just get probably thrown out of orbit forever. But it's probably not going to go into the black hole. They don't...
But either way, they'll be without the sun, Drew.
I mean, I get that, but they probably... It takes a long time for a black hole to eat a whole star. They have some time. Yeah,
they have a bit of time on their hands. But you can see, like, it's now the big doomsday counter. I'm like, oh, yeah. There'll be a little ones coming in, but this is the grandfather clock of all doomsday counters.
So there are some things I wanted to bring up. One is that when Judy confronts Dr. Smith is very obviously one of those people who's just really good at not actually doing any work. And we see her throughout this whole episode sitting in places like she's doing work and just never actually doing anything.
Yeah.
Just kind of wandering around and touching various things and never doing anything, just making it look like she's busy. And the other thing is we see Will in a flashback doing his test, the test that he failed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's definitely a neat test. He's in a hyperbaric chamber and he has, like, I don't know, a minute or whatever to solve a bunch of those, like, spatial awareness puzzles where you put, like, shapes into other shapes. I don't actually know what they're called. And it's the hyperbaric chamber is changing the altitude that he's at for every, like, so many seconds. And he's, like, losing oxygen and he has to think about it. And it's the test that he fails because he doesn't get to the last shape before he, like, almost passes out.
Yep.
Which was really, it was a cool scene because it's like, okay, that makes sense.
During these flashbacks, we kind of like jumped one because it wasn't significant in my brain, and I don't know why it was fairly important. We see that when Will is born, he's in one of the little ICU things, and we see his mum have a very emotional conversation with the baby Will, obviously only a couple of days old, and we find out that Will has been losing weight and that he's sick, and she basically says, if you fight now to live, I will fight for you for the rest of your life. And then when we see that Will has actually failed this test, because we can figure it out by seeing it, she then says, you won't remember this, but we made a deal, and don't worry, we'll get things sorted. And that's, I think, when we find out this is the test, this is what she was willing, and this is why. It's like, oh, there's a nice little emotional tug there. It was a nice little moment. Don't get me wrong, and it was cool to see the hyperbaric chamber. I like
no,
that. That was
a good
rad.
bit. I had forgotten about the flashback to when Will was a baby too.
Yeah, me too.
Just totally forgot about it. Didn't care.
It was important, but I was just like, all right, okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. And I think I didn't care because I don't care about Will. He's supposed to be he's supposed to be clearly smart. Maybe not as smart as the rest of his family, which there's nothing wrong with like that.
Because he's 11.
Yeah,
or
but he's clearly supposed to be a very intelligent person. He does not act like it, and I can only be like, well, he's 11 for so many times.
Well, he's going to be 11 for like a whole year.
Yeah, because let me when we get to the end point, I'm gonna.
We'll go for it. We'll go for it.
But I want to jump back because the night scene. Smith turned off the perimeter fences, and apparently the dinosaur thing that she had to deal with can smell bugs from like 4 miles away. So it shows up.
Also drawn to the light.
It's probably just drawn to the light.
That's where the bugs are. This is what I want to go with. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. It is a big fucking light.
It's a very big light. Honestly, the light is probably what draws it in, but I just thought it was funny. I was like, but even then, that perimeter fence wouldn't have done fuck all. It's not a fence. It's literally a motion detector.
I had the theory like maybe it's a cat scary. Maybe it just like make a sound that people don't like or a creature doesn't like. Clearly, it's not. It just literally just goes from red to green, and maybe like it'll text you if it feels like it wants to. Maybe it'll take 3 days later because you know it's a
cat. It's like a cat that is a fence, so where it's just like I want attention. No, I don't.
Anyway, so the creature turns up, and everyone's like, "Oh no, run!" Because it's a big kind of dinosaur-like creature that looks it's going to eat you all. Which is
it looks like a weird mix
fair
between
assessment.
Like a stegosaurus and a saber-toothed cat and a frog. Like
it's
a weird creature. It's legitimately a kind of a scary creature in the dark.
Yeah, it's a legitimate, scary, grayish kind of creature that you would expect to see on like an alien planet. It's kind of cool.
And it knocks over their light tower because it climbs to the top of it to eat some bugs and scream.
Yeah, and we see the tower fall, and then we hear everyone running away in panic, and we see Dr. Smith grabbing hold of Will because him and his dad
kidnaps him.
At this point, like literally moments before this happens, the dad finds out that Will has been hiding the secret about Spencer. Mm-hmm. And Will's like, yeah, so Spencer was evil, did attacky things, but he's good now, Dad. I swear.
I told him to never hurt anything.
It's like, I have control. And the dad's like, you're 11 years old, you don't have control over shit.
You're so dumb. You're such a dumb boy.
It was just like, it was brutally honest. And I was like, wow, I respect the dad for saying that. It was harsh and not exactly true. You do have choices and control over some things, but the dad was so brutal in this moment. I'm like, yes, nice. And then the thing attacks. So Smith turns up, basically kidnaps the boy, and then runs into the Jupiter.
Inside the Jupiter, yeah.
While the dad looks for the 2 girls.
Yep. And we see Penny hiding in the worst place. Like, I don't have another description for. She runs off and runs down a hill, and clearly it's still bright enough to see what's going on out there. Like, the lights are still there. The tower's just facing the ground instead of the sky. And the thing is right behind her, and she slowly just she walks up to a tent, looks at it, and then walks into the tent as if that's good enough. There's no way it can find me in a tent.
It'll do. So she hides in this tent, and then the creature's like making like the weird kind of Jurassic. I got Jurassic Park vibes here, just there was no end of like you see this. You hear the creature like moving around, and you see the water like under the edge of the tent because they don't secure the tent properly. There's a bit of water, and you see this creature, and you hear it moving around, and then they get a transmission from the Resolute.
Oh yeah, she jumps up and turns it off because it's making noise.
Yeah, and there's like a full 20 seconds where dickle happens, and there's like she's turning it off, and she's like, oh, maybe the creature's sodded off somewhere, and then oh no, surprise jump, something breaks through the side of the tent, and it's her dad and Judy, and the dad's like, come with me, and then the creature's like, oh, I can hear humans, now is the time to attack the tent.
Yes, so it comes
rather than when I heard the transmission.
It's so good. So it's that classic thing of the really bad like chase scene, and then Dr. Smith is standing there with Will, and she's like, call your robot. Which, first of all, we don't even know if the robot can hear him. We have no established idea about the range of robot 11-year-old boy telepathics. Fuck if we know.
It's either that or he sends it a message. I don't know how it works. There. So somehow Will is supposed to send this message in their strange like telepathy. Oh, we can't call it telepathy. We'll call it sending because that one allows you to send it more than 300 foot or something. And so it casts sending, and we see the dad hold a knife.
He's got his boot knife to this
Got his boot knife, yeah.
giant dinosaur monster.
He did take down the Butt-eels with that knife, like a fucking champion.
But this is significantly larger than a Butt-eel.
That's the name of the episode. So it was significantly larger than Butt-eel. And we see him standing in front of his two daughters with a knife, and they're like, should we run? He's like, no, if we turn, we're going to be toast.
Yep.
So the creature goes to jump for the dad. The dad's like, you see that? Did he say, do you see this knife? He says something dumb to the creature.
Yeah, he does say something stupid. And then Spencer just tackles it from the side.
Yeah, just rugby tackles it out of the way.
Which is great. It was a good scene. I was like, oh, the robot showed up. Yay. Everyone's happy.
Yay. Hand of God moment.
Except there's 2 dinosaur monsters. And Spencer won't fight anything.
Because Will told it not to. And we see the 2 creatures take down Spencer. And he's like pinned to the ground.
Him apart.
Yeah, they try and tear him apart, and it's like, oh, that's really sad. And then Dr. Smith is like, that was a dumb mistake telling it not to fight things. Go down there and tell it to fight things. And Will's like, you're right. And you see him run off. And I feel like you have way stronger opinions.
I have so many opinions. So, yeah, she tells him, don't fight things. And he runs down there. And instead of just going, hey, Spencer, fight these stupid frog things, he's like, you have to be bad. Be bad. And I'm like, okay, hold on. There's a difference between let me defend myself and let me launch nukes. Very different things.
Defend yourself. Defend yourself. It's okay to defend yourself against these weird frog creatures.
Spencer turns back into his weird 4-armed, apparently 4-legged thing, and blows their heads off and rips one's face off or something like that. It has this fight scene and then turns on the people. As you expect. Exactly. He told this robot to turn evil. He's like, yeah, do it. Be evil. And I'm just like, this is the stupid. This child is supposed to be smart, and he says the dumbest thing you could possibly say to a known killer robot.
Yeah. What I liked, above the fact it was the dumbest phrasing ever, it looked awesome. It's like, this is how I would expect an alien fucking robot to look. It had like a big red, like the snow globe went red. They changed, like they went in and like changed the light bulb and put the red one in. And like it had 4 arms. It like broke its 2 normal like humanoid arms apart, and it had like 4 like weird army things. I think it just kept the 2 legs for whatever. I'm pretty sure
it has 2 legs, but they like bend backward at the knee. And it looks like it has like a second foot right next to its other foot.
Possibly.
Maybe its feet just expand so it has more like stability with its like shape.
Could well be the point. Yeah, it looks suitably alien and suitably terrifying. Everyone's like, hey, the robot came in to protect us, and then it turns it's like weird shooty things to aim at the rest of his family. And Will runs in through, it's like, no, don't do this. Don't do this. I told you to do bad. That's bad enough. I've done nothing. I
told you the dumbest thing I could have. Don't murder anybody now. And then Spencer turns back into Spencer.
Yeah.
And everyone sees it. And I have so many feelings because this is another one of those moments of because plot. And I say that because I feel like the conversation in the writer's room went something like this, and I wrote a little script, and I'm going to read it here. How do we make sure everyone knows that the robot is actually a killer robot, so Spencer can't just show up and be Spencer because everyone will be like, he saved the day?
Because we need tension. Yeah.
Writer 2. I don't know. Have Will tell him to go dark side or something? Writer 1.
That's a fucking great idea. It worked in Star Wars. It will work here.
In mine, he's like, why would a very smart child tell him to go for dark side when he wants to protect him?
Because he's a dumbass 11-year-old and plot.
Good enough for me. Fuck it.
All right.
There's so many moments in this show that I'm just like, did they just not bother to take like 2 seconds and go, but why?
Yeah.
The answer should not be plot.
I think what we're supposed to get from this is that Will and the robot have this like insane bond with each other.
They do, and I think that's really what we're going for. But it's like he could have phrased it better. He didn't have to tell him be bad.
I mean, like even an 11-year-old would know the difference between being bad and defending yourself. So like you would have gone defend yourself. Like make sure just make sure they don't hurt anyone else. It's like defend us, defend yourself. Yeah. Get him to do that. But I think what we're supposed to get, especially this end bit here, is that Will and the robot have this insane bond where Will has control over this creature over the robot, and Spencer will always default to looking after Will no matter what. So if Will says don't do a thing, he won't do it. I think we're supposed to show that bond being stronger here in this moment. I think that's what we're supposed to get. I think that's supposed to be the plot point out of this. But I just got yeah, a dumb kid is standing in front of this robot, which could literally kill the rest of his family. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, this is stupid and dumb," as you would expect because it is stupid and
It's
dumb.
very stupid and dumb.
And then we have this kind of cool animation of him turning back into Spencer, which
Yeah,
is
which
cool.
was nice. And you said that even an 11-year-old would know the difference between defense and being pointlessly evil. Especially an 11-year-old. His dad is a very even-tempered person, as far as I can tell. I mean, John's kind of a dick, but not in the way of like he's mean to his children. He just is kind of a
He's
dick.
understandable, Dick.
Yeah, but he's the kind of person who's like, I need to defend people. I'm going back and taking another tour of duty because I believe it's the right thing. He taught his daughter how to defend herself. Like he's definitely the kind of person who'd be like, you shouldn't start a fight, but you should defend yourself if you have to, because that's important. Like you shouldn't let anyone hurt you if you can stop it, because why would you do that?
Yeah,
do that.
there's a difference between needlessly killing and not. And as Undead says in the chat, because I'm read this out because it's a good point. He could have even unintentionally said something that led him to being bad, something like "get them" or "fight."
Either one of those, I would have been like, "Yep, this makes way more sense."
Because
it's the go bad part or be bad part that makes Will go from being 11 to being 4.
Yeah. I know we're supposed to understand that he panics in the face of danger, but yeah, I think it would have been far more clever to use something like "get them" or "fight," because then the go bad thing is the subtext.
Yeah.
It's the subtle thing that he can grow on, rather than we want him to go bad at some point. So if he just tells him to go bad, do you think that'll do the job? Yeah, I'll tell you what, because people might not get it, and it'll get rid of dramatic tension later on. Fuck it.
It's very annoying, but unfortunately, we only have 7 minutes left.
Oh my god.
So we're gonna do our closeout stuff. Because I
at the
also
very
don't want
end,
to sit here and
at the very end of this episode, Maureen turns back up, says nothing to anyone. That's it. That's all that happens.
Did she
and
actually show back up? I thought okay, the last thing I remember seeing Maureen was she was driving in the chariot and saw the light flicker in the sky.
Out. Yeah, and then she puts her foot down. No, she turns up in the end of the episode, sort of towards the end, and then we see her get out of the vehicle and she sees Spencer and Will. Okay. And she's like, "Oh," and the dad's like, "Oh fuck," because they had very opposite reactions to what was going on there, and I thought that was very interesting.
Yes. But we're gonna do our end stuff now. Yolanda, what was your rating of this episode and the rating of the series as a whole from this point?
It's not quite the trash fire ignition that was last week. This is more the it's still going.
We haven't figured out how to put it out yet.
It was something slightly better than last week, so it's going to go from 1.5 stars to maybe 2 stars, and it is a maybe 2 stars. I freely admitted earlier I paused it at half an hour, and it had to take me a good while to put it back on. I just couldn't, and the series is going to stay at a solid. I can't remember what I gave it last week, but I'm going to hedge it on 2.5 stars. I think that's what I gave it last week. I honestly don't think I'd continue watching this. It would be one of those things I'd go back to again in 6 months to try and get through, to say that I've gotten through it. I am hoping that it gets better. If not, then just kill everyone else and we'll just have the Judy and Penny show. Oh, and Don and Comma.
I'd watch the Judy and Penny show, really.
Yeah, Judy, Penny, Comma, and Don. I'll watch that show. Yeah. That's where I stand on this right now. I would recommend watching this to anyone. No. Apart from the towards the end of episode 4 with the purple things, I think I hope it gets better. I hope that the hype has been right about this, and the end of this series is going to blow us away. Mm-hmm. But so far, I feel like I'm blown away by a shotgun in a very bad way. This is not good for me. So
there are also just better ways to handle Spencer turning into evil Spencer. Like, you could have had. I'm not gonna write the show for them. Do your job better.
Well, they have season 2, so
we'll see if they learn how to write a script by then.
Yeah, we'll see if we're going from apprentice to journeyman. And the fact that it's so low on my thing is how they treated sci-fi so far.
I agree.
They've had so many options to make it very cool to go through and explain certain things and actually do the thing that I love about sci-fi, which is it's science and it's set in a story so people can understand what's going on, and it makes a cool idea. Adding the words "in space" does not make a very cool show, and it's just I'm gutted because they have some very strong female characters in here, and they are doing nothing to show them being cool sci-fi characters either. And it guts me. Yeah. Drew.
It, it's a bad series, and I'm gonna rate this episode. I think I rated the last one a 1.5. I'll rate this one a 2 because there's some cool stuff in it. There's a lot more cool stuff in this one
Oh god, yeah.
than in the last episode, but it's still so much of it was just kind of just like going from point A to
Yeah.
point B slowly.
Yeah.
Series as a whole, it's kind of a 3 still. Like it's middle of the road. I kind of regret it. Like if I was just watching this, that fourth episode might have really killed it for me if I was just binging it.
Yeah.
There has been no legitimate hook that's made me want to come back to this show.
I am looking for them.
There are very strong female leads, as you said. They're great. Judy and Penny and the mom, even though she's just mostly kind of irritating to me.
Yeah.
But that's all because of like her character and like what she's like the way she's dealing with the dad. As the mom is very like I'm right all the time, always do what I say, and it's just like stop that.
Listen to sense.
Listen to anybody else's idea for like a second, and maybe be like, okay, you just listen to it for a second. I don't even care if you follow it. Just let someone else say anything. I don't care who says it. But they're not doing anything with these good characters. Like, it's just we're just going from point A to point B on one of those stupid little like theme park trains. It's like, okay.
We're just going to swing by this very cool idea. And on the left, we'll see that there is a scientific principle. And on the right, we're going to see awkward teenage romance. And on the left, we're going to see a chicken.
Yep.
We're going to stop by the chicken for a moment.
Not only do we see a very scientific principle on the left, it's just like Hawking radiation. Like, you Googled black hole and went, the first word that popped up, you went, Hawking radiation.
Yeah. The fact that it doesn't, I mean, it may be because they're going to give that explanation to her in the next episode.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I
hope
they just literally showed it, and even if they didn't show you what it was or say anything, she saw an anomaly and went, "Oh fuck!" And then the next episode, she's like, "There's a black hole I picked up." Then you could say Hawking radiation, but it really feels like they went to the Wikipedia for black holes and like Hawking radiation. Okay, we'll use that because we don't know anything else about black holes.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they give her that explanation of what it is in the next episode. I'm hoping that's what they're saving because it is a big principle, and I really hope that they give her that. I just get the feeling they're not going to. They are just going to skate over it. It's like, boom, here's a thing, and here's a line, and that's the big
if they're
thing.
going to explain where this black hole came from.
Maybe it has something to do with the fact they were pulled through here through a wormhole. I don't know.
It's possible. Who knows? We'll figure it out though.
Hopefully they'll figure it out.
I hope we see something. But
someone needs to turn it with a fire extinguisher and deal with this
also,
trash.
I swear to God, if they get off this planet at the end of this season and season 2 is they crash land on another planet, I will throw my computer out of a window.
We'll defenestrate everything we own.
Everything. I don't care anymore. I'm done. Just
I don't know. So when did I estimate fuel? I think that was next episode 6 or 7. I think is when it estimated fuel.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's pretty much when you estimated they were gonna need fuel so badly.
Because they gotta get off. We'll find out. I'm hoping I'm right because at least then I'll be right about something on this series.
Yeah, I'm Undead Band. That's exactly what they probably did. They probably even used the straight up like Google
Wikipedia
Assistant or Siri to find it. Like, okay, Google, science stuff, and just scrolled through for a minute.
Yeah, that's
it's
just
a mess.
It's a hot mess.
But I can't go too long tonight because
we have a thing.
So if you want to do your sign off real fast.
Hi, I'm Valanda. You can be Volley, and you can find me on Twitter at blood_BTP. I'm the mistress for the other one.
TLD.
Lucky Die.
The Lucky Die. Yeah, there you go.
Nailed it.
You got your own show. I'm
so
Drew Tillman. I was Drew Tillman. I will stop being Drew Tillman. I will be Drew Tillman again in 30 minutes when we have the second half of The Seer. So if you're a $5 or $10 patron of Taking Initiative, come on by, watch your emails. You will get the link for it. They're going to fight a fucking boss in this one. And it's going to be so good. For me, not them. They're fucked. You can also find me on Taking Initiative and Talking Initiative and You can find me every Thursday on Twitch streaming Moonlighter and possibly some other stuff in the future. It's not confirmed yet. Anyway, goodbye, everybody. You've been great. Thank you for letting us vent for an hour about this slowly smoldering dumpster. Wreck also works. And, oh, look, space stuff.
It's a wreck in space!
In space!
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.